Welcome back to the Fit Family Podcast for another episode. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you.
This podcast is proudly brought to you by our good sponsors at BD Fitness, lifestyle and nutrition training made simple. So thanks to BD Fitness for sponsoring this episode. Been long-time supporters. Thanks, guys. Good to see good people trying to make a change.
Agreed.
Um,
What's on the agenda today? I'm actually really excited because...
Well, I thought you were going to take it away with the agenda, but I will lead with the agenda.
You always take over.
It was your idea. So today we are talking about stress. If you follow us on social media, you will have seen that it is definitely topical. We've been posting about it, probably for about a week. And I think it's important to note. So most of our posts, like the topics for our posts, we have a general idea of kind of what we think is important, that we, like a message we spread or anything like that. But largely the content comes from the conversations we have. So we'll have 3 or 4 conversations in a week about carbohydrates, and we're like, you know what? If someone's asking the question, a lot of people have got to be thinking about it, and we'll make some posts on that, or we'll get, in this case, we've been talking to our clients a lot lately, more and more about stress management and just how important it is in your nutrition choices, in your exercise motivation, in your ability to recover, in all aspects of your health. Effectively managing stress is one of the most important things you can do, and one of the biggest, I think, most untapped areas of someone's routine, for sure. Specifically with the type of person who we normally work with.
And what society now deems as, what's the word? We almost glorify it.
Yeah, hard work and getting after it, and sacrificing your sleep to get up and work and do this, and it's not without merit, because it is important to work hard and have a crack and all that stuff, but not at the expense of your overall health, which, just like everything else in this world, to look at it through one lens is a little bit short-sighted, but to have a more holistic view and maybe a little bit more, I guess, as cycling in and out of those types of periods is more important than just going hammer and tong the whole line. I like to use a car analogy of revs on the engine and rev it up, but then pull it back down and stuff like that, as opposed to just knocking the engine into smithereens. As a car fan
I was
myself,
about to say, you and the cars, I'll never understand it.
I was watching a documentary on cars yesterday.
I was very confused.
Yeah.
Anyway, if we simplify that, how often do we have conversations around the decisions we make and the expense or the cost we pay for it in health? At the end of the day, nothing will ever be done if you are not here to do it. Do you know what I mean? If people work themselves into the ground and they are not well enough to work, then they will not be working.
What?
Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't. Say that again.
I'm saying if you're so stressed out
Yeah.
and sacrifice your health to that level,
Oh, okay, yeah.
you will eventually be at a stage where you cannot do your job.
Yeah. No, well, that's the whole idea of kind of, enjoying the journey rather than sacrificing everything to get to an end destination and realizing that the journey's the best part anyway, sort of. Yeah, which is just what we speak to people about, having balance along the way. And we all forget that at times. I do, for sure. Actually, instead of worrying about what's going to happen, I should be enjoying what is happening. Instead of looking too far forward, because then it does ease stress, and it does mean okay, well, I'm just going to do today and look for, anyway, we've taken it down a dark, but I was talking about stress and you're talking about existential crisis.
No,
Okay.
well, I'm saying, people they don't realise, I guess, how stressed they are and how that is something that we do need to manage in our day-to-day lives to ensure that we are healthy.
I think it comes when you make a good point, when it comes to not realizing just how stressed you are, it's because we never stop to think about it until I'm sick. Or the ultimate example of this was lockdowns. Never had that much spare time, to actually think how many people moved homes or changed jobs or took up a different hobby or reconnected with an old thing. It's like, actually what, like we all just get caught up in the rat race a little bit, and it's not actually serving us all that well. So yeah, stress management, really important. But what we are going to talk about quickly is not just the way that stress is or could be potentially affecting your body and your, I guess, lack of health results in this space, but also some really good tactical ways that you might be able to take away to then, help ease stress, specifically on a day-to-day, routine or behavior or anything that you might like to implement into what you're currently doing.
Sure. So how about we start with identifying, which was our first post, and maybe we can both speak to that. So one of the first signs we see with a lot of our clients is they keep getting sick.
Yes. So stress raising inflammation, lowering your body's ability to fight infection or fight disease. I mean, it sort of becomes like a bit of a spiral. Like, not only does it suppress your immunity, but it also can't sleep and recover, which also is a huge bearing on your immunity. And it starts to just sort of dig, and then it all piles in, and the daycare bug comes home and now I've got the sniffles again, or now I'm down again. And it's always just like, as soon as you start to get a bit of momentum, struck down again. And that's when, it just becomes super defeating, like motivational wise. It's like every time I try and get on the top of it, I'm crook, and that can be a massive indication of too much stress.
Yeah. So look at what you're currently doing. This is what we would advise people that we were coaching. Like, what are you currently doing that you think is not serving you well there? Where could you ease a little bit of that stress? And sometimes that can be stuff that we think is positive. Like, I've recently had conversations with someone about, do you think your exercise load is too high? Because that is what has changed.
Yeah.
And now you are getting sick
we
more
often talk to people about training less, which seems a little bit counterintuitive as a trainer to tell people to do less, but it's the most manageable factor in their lifestyle, as opposed to, I'm just going to take a day off. And it's like, well, that may not be feasible, but instead of training 5 times a week, let's do 3. Let your body rest and recover in between each session, which tends to make the actual sessions like more high quality anyway, because you do have time to recover, to grow, to get stronger before you then stress your body again, instead of just slamming your head into a brick wall.
Yeah. And also, we do want to stress that illness is a part of life, and yes, it is unavoidable.
Yeah. And this is completely individual as well. Like, telling someone that they get sick too often, it's like, well, how could we possibly know that unless the person themselves kind of knows? And someone will be listening to this, no doubt, and be like, oh, maybe that is me. And then someone else who may have, like immune issues where there's like, well, that's not me because I am sick often, but I have XYZ. So yeah, this is generalities, and there are multiple, and it's not just like one thing is going to be exact or absolute in that way.
Yeah. Okay. The second one, struggling with weight.
So stress raises hunger hormones in the body, so specifically ghrelin, which makes you feel, like it's your appetite hormone. When your body's hungry, it releases ghrelin, signals that it's time to eat. It also lowers feelings of fullness in the body, which is leptin. So if you're constantly not feeling full, constantly feeling hungry, it's not as though the stress is making you eat more, but it's certainly as though your body's internal environment is like constantly telling you that you are hungry, which will then lead you to
potentially eat more.
Overconsume.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So walking around hungry, as we know, nutrition coaches, the biggest killer of any diet plan is hunger.
Yep.
Makes things so much harder than they ultimately need to be. And if you are constantly hungry, then it can actually, it can be down to stress, but the opposite is also true. If your appetite is completely suppressed and you are dropping weight rapidly, that could also be due to stress and elevated levels of cortisol, which is an appetite suppressant.
Yeah.
But also elevated levels of cortisol and immunity, and it's like it all starts to just pile in. So it's like everything in the body has a job and a role, and it's all very important, but it's like over exhausting one particular area is then going to lead to issues.
I was about to say, and how individuals' bodies react
Yeah, absolutely.
in that circumstance. So you used an example of someone being stressed and not eating,
Yeah.
and then another person being stressed and overeating.
Yeah, and someone will, you'll instantly be able to know which one you are. Like, yeah, if anyone sees me and I've rapidly dropped weight, issues. Something's going on. Something's going on. All right, next one, Dan, you can take this one away.
Workouts feel a little bit harder than usual.
Yes.
So stress does lower our ability to recover. So if you wrap it all up together, if we're getting less sleep, and that's then making hormonal changes in our body, we all know that if we're not recovered, certain things happen. And then the flow-on effect, which we just spoke about then, when the hormones move and individuals react to that, that changes our energy levels.
Yeah. Low on enthusiasm, low on energy, like, this is hard, dragging my feet, not nearly, performing to my potential in the gym, or feeling as though I can kind of get out of first gear. Just sort of all points to signs that you either need a rest day or you need to just, top up the stores a little bit, have a couple of days off. Instead of trying to, flog yourself in the gym, go for a walk, chill out, headphones in, early night, focus on restoring that energy.
Yeah. The next few I can actually really relate to.
You?
Yeah. So, as I said, we're talking about how individuals react differently. So, as we're going through identifying stress, you will be able to say, yeah, that's me. Or, no, that's not me. So, these next three are very, very much me. So, I can probably speak to them a little bit more. I actually physically, like my muscles, get sore when I am stressed.
Lots of people might be able to identify with tight traps, like the muscles next to your neck, which can then stimulate headaches, migraines, things like that if you're going through a busy work period or you've got deadlines or, just an abnormally large load. And then, tight neck, headaches, migraines, quite common in regards to like a stress symptom.
Yeah. What about you? Do you?
Me, as in when I'm stressed, weight loss, stomach.
Like upset stomach?
That
stomach. That is a common one, actually.
Upset stomach, and probably just like short-tempered in general. Don't quite have the leash or the, prone to rage. No, I wouldn't say that, but I just don't feel like I'm quite myself when it comes to like tolerance.
Yeah, so that leads to our next one.
Yeah, so stress reducing sleep quality, which then leaves you forgetful, short-tempered, and just not quite yourself. And I can relate to that. But I think it's more so like, throwing a a bit of a scattergun approach, and it's like, which ones are you compared to just it being one thing? Like, there's a few here which I can't relate to at all. That's not a way it manifests in my body, but this one, absolutely.
I think most people would feel that one in terms of short-tempered and just...
It's just not all there.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it like? Sometimes you try and talk to me at like 8 o'clock at the end of the day when you're like, oh, what about this and that? I'm just like, do not speak to me about work stuff because I'm not listening. I cannot hear anything. Write it down and we'll chat about it tomorrow. I just want to kill some 13-year-old in Canada on Call of Duty and just shut my mind down.
Oh, too good. All right, next one. Probably not one that many people would talk about, but I think we should touch on it.
Speaking of touching,
you
can go. You can
go. Sex drive. So a lot of people do find that it is reduced when they are stressed. So they simply do not feel like having sex, which then obviously has impacts on your relationship.
Yeah, for sure. And I think from a male perspective, so testosterone and stress are really closely linked. So male testosterone levels at the moment are like low, just across the board. Early, people aren't sleeping enough, people aren't moving enough, people aren't eating enough red meat and protein, people aren't lifting weights, and all of that stuff, people are overstressed. All of that stuff is linked to male testosterone production. And typically higher levels of testosterone is linked to your sex drive. So when all of that stuff isn't happening, then, the want to maybe partake in said activity is a little bit lower.
Yeah. I was reading an article on that the other day that it was so low.
But also when it comes to de-stressing, it can be something that helps. So, which is quite a similar theme amongst all of our actions that we're going to get into, in regards to how to deal with it. It's like, it feels like the last thing you want to do. But anyway, we'll touch on that in a second. Moving on, system struggles. So this is the one that I recognize as something that happens to me, but stress can upset your digestion, heartburn, indigestion, and diarrhea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very common, I'd say. People speak to that one a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I'd much rather just have a headache, to be honest. It'd be less annoying, but on we go. Play on.
Yeah. So we've identified, obviously, there's a lot of stresses in our life.
Yeah, some of the ways it can manifest in your body.
Yeah, and how can it affect you? So now let's talk about managing it. And we posted about some behaviours that help ease stress.
Yeah, so you will notice that a lot of these actions and behaviours that we're going to talk about they're not just purely designed to, calm your mind. It's like it just crosses an array of systems in your body, and it's just going to be a benefit to literally almost anything that happens. But the first one is just...
Sorry, just before we get started, I guess the key here for each individual is identifying that correlation or the relationship between, okay, I've identified this, and when I execute this, I feel better.
Yeah, being able to draw the line.
Exactly, because it does look very, very different for every person.
Also, just want to make it clear. So if there is something specific that stresses you, then you should probably just try and avoid it. That being said, that's not a reality for everyone. So, if you know that in your life, work is the one thing that just stresses you and it's affecting your health, but at this stage it's a reality and you can't change it. Obviously the advice of, just quit is stupid. Okay, so we're not really going to tell you that. Though that would probably be the best thing for your health. This is more strategies aimed at dealing with it as opposed to just completely cutting it out. But option number one would always be to just, avoid the thing that stresses you. So here's an easy one. Watching the news. Watching the news sucks. Every time I see the news and something awful's happened around the world, I'm like, this is crap. No, I don't watch the news. So yeah, there you go.
I don't think I've ever been as down or ever watched as much television in my life as during COVID.
You know what though? House Hunters, banger of a show. We watch Nine Life a lot, and I was like, anyone can flip houses and make hundreds of thousands of dollars doing this. A little DIY, happy days. But yeah, the news, and if he was wearing a bloody North Face jacket or a blazer or whatever it was, it was the worst. It was the worst. It was the lack of control.
Yeah. All
right. Moving on.
Let's get into some helpful information.
So, the first thing to do if you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, just a little bit out of control is...
15-minute walk.
15-minute walk just around the block.
What do you know?
Easy. Not only will it, just you're getting outside and getting in the sun. Obviously, it's a little bit of a seasonal one, but at the moment, a beautiful outside, just getting some fresh air just does wonders. Just calms you down. A little bit of breathing, improves circulation of oxygen all around your body and to the brain, and just has a really positive response on your body. So that would be our go-to. That's a really easy one that most people can do, especially if you're at home. But yeah, that would be the go-to. Just a little walk, come back, everything will be better.
Yeah, let's go to another easy one that most people can do most of the time.
Yeah.
And that's have a cuddle.
Have a cuddle.
I do like that one.
Oxytocin, a little bit of love hormone. Yeah, it's that feeling you get after, like touch, either intimately with a partner or just someone else.
Hugging a friend, yeah.
Yeah, maybe not intimately.
Hugging the kids.
Fine.
I love it. I love it. It does. It makes, honestly, when I'm stressed
Hugging the kids
and
is
our
nice.
kids hug me, it
nice.
changes me completely.
Yeah, it's the ultimate perspective giver, isn't it? It's like they do not give a shit. Like, yeah.
Or maybe they do give a shit and they know I'm stressed and that's why they're hugging me.
That's like some woo-woo dog shit. You know how people talk about their dog and it's like, oh, I can tell when you're upset. Give me a break. Axel.
Benjamin, I know my children better than anybody.
No. Mia, yes. William, yeah, he's switched on. Come on.
Okay. Maybe Hazzy's not quite there yet.
No, not quite there yet. No. He's brain dead, that kid.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah, no, we've got 2 emotionally aware kids and 1 kid who's like a dumb golden retriever, just sort of walks around happy as Larry. He doesn't care, does he? He's on the internet forever. He's going to be old and be like, my dad called me a dumb golden retriever.
Bless. Another one is find a hobby. So this one obviously requires a little bit more time and sometimes a little bit more thought too when you ask people this.
Yeah.
So often we'll pose this question to people and they're like, actually, I don't know what
I
want to do.
You're crap at this.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah. What's my hobby? It's always exercise.
Yeah, it's always something to do with
exercise or food. I do like cooking.
That's a good
food,
one. Yeah. But the reality is it's like find a hobby where you can only kind of focus on that one thing. So it might be, like really obvious one for me might be playing PlayStation with William. Because we just switch off, talk about rubbish and play a game. Like I'm not thinking about anything else while I do it. Or it might be playing guitar. It's very hard to do anything else while you're focusing on that one thing that takes all of your attention. And especially if it's fun or it's kind of mentally stimulating, it's basically a distraction. Helps you slow your heart rate, slow your breathing, and just calm down. For someone, it can be reading.
Yeah, reading is a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah, like something that's a bit fun or it's a bit funky or it's a bit not, it's not too close to what you might normally do. It's not going to stimulate you. I was listening to a podcast the other day and you were listening and I was just finding it interesting, relaxed, and you were listening going, this is rubbish. I was like, it was about...
I was outraged.
Yeah, it was about the way the food system is basically designed to keep us unwell and hospitalised and the amount of money in that and insurance companies and what they prioritise. Anyway, off track, but you were fuming and I was just like, oh, this is interesting. So the same stimulus can have a different response on person to person.
Yeah.
The point.
Great example.
That's the point.
So if you are doing something with your partner, for example, if it was Ben and I and we're both trying to calm down before we go to bed, we're not going to listen to a podcast together.
No, God,
because we quite often react very differently.
Yeah. It might be an episode of Ted Lasso.
I was about to say, Ted is probably a better option for us.
We love Ted. Next one, eating some fruit. So this is more nutritional strategy around lowering cortisol, but in your system, cortisol and insulin can't be both raised at the same time. They can't coexist. Yep. It's one or the other. So to lower cortisol in the body, and I think lots of people will be able to relate to this from a more emotional eating standpoint, but having rapidly absorbed sugars like chocolate, lollies, chips, anything like that hits your tummy quickly, goes out into the bloodstream quickly, raises insulin, which is a storage hormone, and lowers cortisol and can calm us down. Okay. Now, when harnessed for good, a little bit of watermelon or something like that, whatever your favorite fruit is, it's great. But obviously also it can be taken the other way, which will still lower stress in the short term. But then odds are if you smash half a block of chocolate or a block, you're probably going to feel more stressed at what you've just done. And then we start to go around and round again. Yeah, that's right.
I'm glad you wrapped it up with that.
Yeah.
This one's a really good one, and I think it's something that we have now just become so immune to. Screens, like in children, in adults.
Immune or addicted?
Yeah, addicted, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
we're not
probably a
immune
better
to it.
word.
I think we're addicted to it.
Immune to it being normal, I probably should have said.
Okay, yeah.
So having screen-free time before you go to bed can be so beneficial. Since leaving my corporate role and coming back into the coaching world full-time, that's one thing I've noticed that's probably worse for me. Because a lot of what we do is on social media and it's comms with clients.
Yeah.
I am on my phone a lot more.
Oh, we're on our phones all day.
And yeah, we had
or
the
looking at a laptop. And,
exactly. We had the conversation the other day about, when we're with our kids being present and, removing our phones.
Yeah.
Even though, yes, it is for our work, just having our kids thinking that is normal is not something that we've ever wanted for them. Like, we're quite on screen time. Just that's our personal decision for our family.
Yeah.
To limit that. And we've found ourselves that's kind of creeping back in, given our shift in lifestyle a little bit. So just being aware of it, and again understanding that relationship of, is this impacting me in a positive or negative way?
Yeah. From a more physiological point of view, having that hour off before bed just starts to let your body and your mind wind down. Like, I think lots of people will know the relationship between blue light and telling your body that it's awake and daytime, and the blue light that we do get from TVs, like, it'll hit 10 o'clock and our body doesn't quite know that it's time to wind down yet. So although it's dark outside, if you're constantly stimulating your eyes and your brain, then it won't start that kind of relaxed period and help get you ready for bed, which will obviously then potentially lead to a poor sleep, and then the cycle off that, the increased hunger. Like, all of these things start to kind of join together, and it can take a bit of a breaking of the wheel a little bit to separate yourself from just spiraling, but actually taking back a little bit of control, and an hour off screens to have a shower, have a stretch, have a read, do whatever, or do the hobby that we spoke about, which is preferably off screens, then it'll give you a really good chance of having a restful, relaxing night's sleep.
And our final one is connect with a friend. Connections are just so important in life.
Yeah. That was actually my one takeaway from that Blue Zones documentary, where they kind of analysed the communities around the world that have the highest life expectancy. And a lot of it was common sense. It was high quality ingredients with their food and lots of activity and all sorts of stuff based around that. But the one that surprised me a little bit was just how important that community connection and social interaction was. That when people are alone, it significantly decreases their life expectancy.
Not only that, the quality of your connection.
Well, again, to use the COVID example, like that lockdown stuff and being at home and not seeing people and not having that interaction, like, it was really hard. Really hard for a lot of people. And when we opened up the gym again after, like, everyone was just rapt to, like, see an familiar face, like, off a screen and just in person. And I think for months afterwards, people really prioritize that as opposed to a FaceTime or a call. It was like, let's catch up and go for a walk, which I think would be good to kind of keep that elevated a bit now, even though, like, it's not overly convenient. But yeah, I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we did have a question as well today, which was about an article. So we had a client post an article in our
members
WhatsApp
community. Yeah.
Do you want to maybe give that a download and then we can talk to it?
Yeah, so the article was kind of hypothesizing that there are big differences between the ways that men and women metabolize different macronutrients and energy sources in our body to use as fuel, and it would then, as a result of that, it would make sense to then optimize your nutrient intake to then help your body do that. For example, if women metabolize fats more so than carbs, would it make sense to have a higher fat diet? Was sort of the gist. Now,
basically saying that women should prioritize fat as a macronutrient and men should prioritize carbohydrates as a macronutrient.
Based on the ease of which our systems break it down, store it, use it, all that type of stuff, like overall metabolic function.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that we think you pretty much don't need to worry about. Like, it's so high level, like professional athlete style nutrition, where it's like you can achieve really good health without worrying about the macronutrient split of your breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yep.
Not to say that it's not potentially true or that it's not potentially worth it for some people. However, generally speaking, with all the people I have coached on their nutrition, and you're the same, I've never once thought, you know what's holding you back? We should probably swap those eggs for oats, or the other way around. Never, ever. Like, ultimately, every nutrition expert, or the good ones anyway, come back to just nail your daily calories, nail your protein, and eat as much high quality ingredients as you can. And that is just the fundamentals of good nutrition. And it's so boring.
I know.
And it's so easy to understand. And it's not going to get any clicks on Instagram, not like eating raw bull testicles or snacking on aged parmesan. But that is just the facts.
Yeah.
And that is what we use on our programs, and it just works. It just works.
Yeah, I think obviously everyone likes to get a rise, and it is like we live in a world where you want the clicks.
Yeah.
We
want the clicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to grow an online business. Like, we're no stranger to trying to put our spin on, controversial topics.
Yeah.
So that helps spread our message.
Exactly. I didn't have a look at where this research was funded or anything like that, but with all research, I always go to where it's funded, because that's the person who's trying to prove a point. So you might actually find that it will be funded by a food company looking to sell a certain product. That's generally what happens with those type of research pieces.
Yeah. In this case, in the article, there was no conclusion drawn apart from the fact that it might be worth considering, and in the future they'll have more. So it was more just an awareness piece over, we're all different. Lots of the studies have been performed on men, which is very true. And that there might be ways to go before we kind of fully understand the difference in metabolic function between the genders.
Yeah, and definitely that is one thing I guess we can talk to just briefly. Just like no two individuals eat the same, that's one thing I guess we find very common when coaching is people often adopt what their partners do. So we do find that men and women often are trying to do the same thing, which they really shouldn't, because they have quite different inputs and outputs and goals.
Yeah. Just to be clear, there is absolutely no doubt that there are some really clear differences between the genders and the way we respond and perform with different styles of training and different loads and different volumes at intensities. Like, generally speaking, women can train far more frequently at a higher intensity and deal with a lot more physical stress in that way and respond really well than men.
Well, look at what we can do in our lives, Benjamin.
Exactly. Whereas men tend to respond better, and coming back to stress and testosterone levels with less training, but at a high intensity with time in between to recover. And I stress tend to, because everyone is different, but this is the sort of conclusions that that are drawn, generally speaking, which is all we can do. Like, at the end of the day, everyone needs to find what works for them, but you can kind of be pointed in the general direction based on what we know about the differences in physiology and the way we're kind of built.
Yeah, and men are also over their lifetime, obviously they have a lot more stability. Women are more volatile. There's a lot more hormonal impacts, I guess, over our lifetime that do play a very big role.
Yep. Last question today. I'd love an opinion on which, if any, pre-prepared meal brands are better than others when this is truly the best/last option. For example, My Muscle Chef, Workout Meals, Dynamic, U-Foods Fueled, etc. What would you do?
Oh, we've recently partnershiped, is that a word?
Yeah,
Oh,
bad
partnered.
English.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, partnered.
Wow, Cinta won't be happy with that. With a company called Just Nourish, and they absolutely support everything we stand for. Whole foods, no preservatives, all about quality.
Super high quality meals for working busy families.
They're targeted to actually, Cinta's a nutritionist, and her, the reason why she started her business, so something she's really passionate about, is what women's bodies actually require after they have a baby, and just how important that is, and having the best option available to ease stress. So they are targeted to families. I believe she's just released some toddler meals today, actually, if you're also looking for your kids. But yeah, basically anything you see in the supermarket,
just going to be a lower quality.
It's going to be lower quality.
It's mass produced, small, like smaller margins. Like it's just not the same as cooked in a local kitchen with a bit of TLC, like frozen, delivered,
can we
packed.
just talk about mass production?
It's
all about money, guys. They are looking to sell you a product. So it's the marketer's job to sell you a product. That's why they're putting the protein content on the front.
Yeah.
And they're not putting all the fillers on the front.
No.
Okay, so
sodium and
always our advice is to look at the back of the packet.
Yeah.
If you can see numbers, and if you can see lots of ingredients, and if you can see things you can't even pronounce, it's not optimal for your health. It is not. Someone was asking me the other day. Look, I'm on a rampage.
I was going to say,
Someone was asking me the other day, well, why do they put preservatives in there? Well, that's because we eat with our eyes. They're trying to make things look bright. They're trying to make things look really good in their packets.
They're also trying to increase the shelf life.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's
to
frozen,
then make it last longer.
That's...
Oh, are you talking?
I'm saying frozen food,
yeah.
lasts a very long time. We're talking to Cinta about it the other day.
Almost indefinitely. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But so why do we add preservatives? To make it look better.
Yeah.
Right? So, I'm not saying that preservatives in different products that have a shorter shelf life. I'm talking frozen food now. It's to make it visually appealing in certain circumstances.
Yeah. So, anyways, Just Nourish don't do any of that. I was gonna say, we've just partnered with an awesome company who believes in everything that we do, and we're able to provide our members with a discount, and you've gone on a rampage about preservatives. I was like, bring it back.
Sorry, guys. Oh, and actually, I do have some more exciting news. I did message Cinta the other day, and single serve meals are in the plan as well. So they will be here in the near future, which is very exciting. So if you're looking to grab something to take to the office, for example, for lunch, because currently all the meal sizes are family based.
Yeah. So to loop it all the way back to the question, we would definitely recommend Just Nourish, because the quality of that meal is going to be really close to what you would cook on any other night. That's about it.
It's not compromised at all. It's you cooking dinner.
Yeah. And you're not going to have any issues with your digestion or anything. Yeah. So definitely make use of that discount code. Get yourself some meals for a rainy day, or consistently, whatever you would prefer. Anything else to add?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
1 week out from Mara. Should we do a full breakdown on your training and carb loading and hydration and all that stuff next week?
Are you giving this information to me, or
I'm
trusting myself? No. So Ben's obviously been doing my programming from a training perspective, but I have been managing my nutrition.
Yeah, because you'd tell me to piss off if I told you anything with that anyway.
So yeah, we will give you the download. He did do something that I didn't agree with this week with my training load, guys. But I've spoken to him about that, and it won't be happening next week.
Yeah. She waited until 2 weeks out before getting soft. That's the takeaway there. Anyways, bye.
Bye, guys.